Thanks for joining us on NTA Nationwide. I'm Elizabeth Omori. We are reaching you live from Abuja. High-level talks on the nation's security situation has ended at the presidential villa. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the meeting, summoned by President Muhammadu Buhari, was attended by the Minister of Defense, Mansur Dan Ali, the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mongunu, the Chief of Defense Staff, and all the service chiefs. Also in attendance were the Inspector General of Police, Directors General, Department of State Services, and the National Intelligence Agency, as well as the Chief of Defense Intelligence. The meeting lasted about 3 hours behind closed doors, but details were not made public. NT News, however, gathered that the security chiefs were engaged by the president on their roles and in maintaining internal security, as well as protecting the nation's territorial integrity. Discussions also centered on some security concerns in parts of the country and far-reaching measures taken towards ensuring lasting solutions. Since coming to power, security remains one of the cardinal objectives of the Buhari presidency in its determination to effectively manage the country for sustainable growth and development. A federal high court in Abuja Court 6 bars INEC from resuming collation of the gubernatorial election result for Tafawa Balewa, pending hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Meanwhile, the Bauchi State Resident Electoral Commissioner Ibrahim Abdullahi acknowledged that the commission has received the court order and is acting accordingly.
The Independent National Electoral Commission from continuing with the collation and subsequent announcement of the results of Tafawa Balewa local government as it affects the governorship race only. However, the state constituency election, results will continue to collect and announce the result as it affects the state constituency. Also, what is going to continue is the scheduled 23rd March election that affects the council election across in other parts of the local government areas.
Senate has passed the National Minimum Wage Amendment Bill. The legislators approved 30,000 naira as new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers. The report of its other committee urged the federal government to put in place a new revenue sharing formula that will enhance the capacity of states to pay the new minimum wage, as it also recommends 75,000 naira as fine for organizations that fail to keep records of their employees. The Senate also advised the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning to compute the total amount required for the payment of the new minimum wage and present to the National Assembly for approval. Senate has passed the 2019 Appropriation Bill for second reading and referred to its Committee on Appropriation. The legislators mourned late Ambassador Abiodun Bashau and Professor Pius Adesomi, who lost their lives in the recent Ethiopian airline crash, as moved by Senator Olubenga Ashafa. A bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Law Reform Commission Act to pave way for enactment of the Nigerian Law Reform Commission passed through second reading at the House of Representatives. The bill forwarded from the Senate to the House for concurrence seeks to facilitate effective implementation of proposed law reforms in line with present realities. Tuesday's plenary also featured presentation of 4 reports by the House Committee on Basic Education and Services, among which is a report on a bill that seeks to make agricultural science a core and compulsory subject in secondary schools in Nigeria. A new policy brief on efficient implementation of Freedom of Information Act to enhance openness in government has been unveiled in Abuja. The Director General of the Bureau for Public Service Reforms, Ibrahim Arabi, at the event emphasized the need to imbibe the cultural shift of open government as an antidote to fight corruption in Nigeria. Ahmed reports.
The passage of the Freedom of Information Bill into law 9 years ago, research from a study in 2018 so far shows that only 8.9% of MDAs in more than 900 public institutions have complied with the Section 29 of the Act to release information on demand. That prompted the Bureau for Public Service Reforms to conduct a survey and came out with this policing trust to checkmate the abuse of civil service rules by some civil servants who hide under the guise of national security to deny access to information requested by individuals and organizations.
The Office of Head of Civil Service of the Federation is working around reviewing the public service rules, which is going to uncover those provisions, and that will give you chance and privilege to ask questions, and it will give us additional cover to openly respond to all questions.
The policy brief is being circulated to all ministries, departments and agencies to serve as a guide for the enforcement of the FoI Act, which will in turn ensure transparency and accountability in the running of government at all levels. Ahmed, NTA News.
And also aviation matters. Programs that will translate Africa's potential for growth in aviation to development are underway as the International Civil Aviation Organization organized a 3-day workshop expected to come up with regional and national policies to address infrastructural gap in the continent. Emmanuel Ayemi reports that the workshop holding in Abuja is in preparation for passengers traffic predicted to double in the next 15 years.
4.5 billion passengers were globally transported on about 38 million flights in 2018. The figures are expected to double in the nearest future, with Africa having the highest potential for growth out of all international civil aviation organization global regions. Yet, this potential is not being augmented with infrastructure in technology, commitment to new or modern airports, and air navigation facilities.
And traffic, specifically in the African region, are expected to grow respectively by 4.3% and 3.8% annually through 2035.
Therefore, there is need for significant airports and air navigation expansion and upgrading programs to accommodate growth in passengers and cargo activity, rehabilitate existing facilities and support aircraft technological advancement.
As part of the 2019 AFI work program, this workshop is to provide basis for the formulation of aviation infrastructure program and master plan for Africa at state and regional levels.
Delegates from 54 African states, the African Union Commission, African Civil Aviation Commission, financial institutions and Accounts Council members are attending the workshop. Emmanuel Ayemi, NTA News.
In the meantime, Delta State government is ready to partner the Nigerian Prisons Service to build skills acquisition centers to aid the reformatory process of the inmates. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa gave this commitment when he received members of the Presidential Committee on Prison Reforms. Ifeoma Okafor has details.
The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Prison Reforms, Justice Ishaku Bello, is on advocacy visit to seek the partnership of the state governments in establishing skills acquisition centers for prison formations.
The evil that we are trying to address is what may happen if after acquiring such skills or credentials, they are out and no gainful employment for them because they are seen as convicts. They may turn against the society with more viciousness, with more sophisticated intellect than they had before they get into the prison.
Governor Ifeanyi Okowa frowned at the high rate of crime and the decayed facilities in the prisons, which has fallen short of international standard of reforms. He called for a review of prison laws that will provide adequate orientation for inmates after they exit from prisons.
We will do the best that we can. We do know that some of the issues raised, we've already started in this state, and we're looking forward to partnering with the prisons to see what we can do. From the office of the SSG, we've occasionally given assistance, but I also know that in the initiative, the O5 initiative run by my wife and her team, they've been doing a lot to see how they can attend to easing off the pains that we find in congested prisons.
The Presidential Committee on Prison Reforms is mandated to decongest prisons across Nigeria. In Asaba, Ifoma Okafor, NTA News.
Kano State Command of the Nigeria Immigration Service has apprehended 8 suspected human traffickers on their way to Europe through Libya. The suspects were intercepted by the operation team of irregular migration along with their facilitator. Mohammed Rabiu Ali reports that the command has deployed modern technique in dislodging the syndicates who take Kano as a transit point.
These are the suspected victims said to have traveled from Benin City en route Kano to Niger Republic for Europe in search of greener pasture. Among them, a 5-year-old child. This is not the first time the operation team of irregular migration is bringing down migrants who do not want good for themselves.
The agents who are the traffickers, on realizing that we have apprehended these people, have abandoned them. And each of these victims paid huge sums of money to the so-called agents who are supposed to freight them from Nigeria.
Controller of Immigration Kano therefore urged parents not to allow their wards to be induced by worldly life, stressing that Nigeria will be better for all.
That there's no pasture that is greener than the country where you belong to. Out there, it is not rosy. It is not green. It is damage and destruction that awaits people that go there. They go through a lot of slavic conditions, go through a lot of inhumane conditions in those countries. And they cannot go there and have reasonable and sensible jobs to do. It's never like home.
The 8 suspected traffickers will be handed over to the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons for further interrogation. Mohammed Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
This is NTA Nationwide. We now pause from this end as we join Ingino in our Lagos Network Center for more reports. Hello, Ingino. It's nice to see you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. It's good to see you too, and welcome to Lagos. The need to sustain the operational efficiency of the Nigerian Navy remains key in securing the waterways and tackling illegalities in the Gulf of Guinea. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Etebas, stated this at the Obangame Express 2019 Senior Leadership Symposium in Lagos. Lynn Leneke reports.
Establishing maritime legal frameworks and maritime governance, naval forces, and interagency integration are among issues lined up at the symposium. Attended by naval senior officers, the forum is geared towards finding solutions to the common maritime security challenges. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Ibok Ekwe-Ibas, who was represented by the Chief of Policy and Plans, stressed that the trainings and exercise Obangame Express is expected to foster cordial relationship among regional navies in the task of restoring order and governance in the Gulf of Guinea.
The Gulf of Guinea is a body of water, and the crimes that goes on there, they are transnational. They migrate from one country to the other. Of course, at sea, there are no rigid boundaries saying that this is the water that belongs to Nigeria, this is the water that belongs to Benin Republic, for instance. And again, also, there's a significant aspect that where piracy has been a problem of navies worldwide. In fact, that's one of the reasons why the Navy was set up in the first instance. So we're going to keep at it, and we're going to make it very uncomfortable for the bad boys until they are run out of business.
The ongoing exercise of Bangame Express, which is adjudged the largest maritime exercise in the world, seeks to display the gains of African integrated maritime strategy. The interactive session had in attendance senior naval officers from West Africa and beyond. In Lagos, Lane Lenake, NTA News.
African women have been challenged to be innovative in their endeavors for them to remain relevant in the scheme of things. Speakers at a forum to celebrate International Women's Day gave the charge in Lagos. Ken Egbeluge reports that the event was organized by the Consulate General of Cameroon in Lagos and the United Nations Information Center.
Think equal, build smart, innovate for change is the theme for this year's International Women's Day. It puts innovation by women and girls at the heart of efforts to achieve gender equality. Speakers were of the view that achieving gender equality in the world requires social innovation that works for both women and men.
We have been talking about this gender equality for many years. We just need to work hard. We just need to be active. We just need to be in the mode of business unusual, so that things can change.
Remove the coat of diplomacy and put it down and do what you have to do in order to make that thing work. So we've had this experience. We want to bring it on board and see, even in the level of government, how can we contribute?
Start with the people around you first. And then when you start with those people, tell them to refer you to other people that would need your services. So it's like, I know that you need this, and I've done it for you and you're happy. Now you tell me the other people in your lives and in your networks that might benefit from what I am offering.
Apart from this year's theme that goes beyond acknowledging the gender gaps, speakers agree that attention be given to how technology can be used and assessed. This, they believe, would ensure that women and girls play decisive roles in emerging industries.
We have told them, we have shown them that you can do it, even if you don't have a factory, even if you don't have a business factory, but you have an idea.
If we're not coming forth with congent experiences and exposure, it might be difficult for us to actually be networked amongst the men.
The International Women's Day was celebrated on the 8th of March globally in Lagos. Ken Igbeluge, NTA News.
Efforts aimed at enhancing accessibility to published materials for the blind and the partially sighted have intensified as the Nigerian Copyrights Commission is partnering with major stakeholders to build the requisite capacity in that regard. Jen Ojukwu was at a 4-day workshop on accessible books and inclusive publishing holding in Lagos, and now reports.
For the blind and partially sighted students in Nigeria, accessing books published in Braille format have remained a nightmare, such that this segment of the society is placed at a disadvantaged position in a bid to acquire formal knowledge. Ishaku Gombe is visually impaired, and like many others in his position, he has not allowed his disability rob him of the opportunity to get an education in order to contribute his quota to national development.
Right from primary, secondary, and university level, you will imagine all the textbooks, all the handouts, all the information being pasted on the blackboard or on the notice board is not accessible or readable to a blind person.
Less than 1% of published works in Nigeria is in accessible formats.
The federal government had in 2018 ratified the Marrakesh Treaty, which removes restrictions to accessing published materials in digital format to ensure that the blind have equal access to published materials as the visually able.
While government implements the bill, some of these efforts will become practical. Anytime works are produced, anytime books are produced, particularly when they are funded by government, we want to ensure that both the sighted and the blind are taken into consideration.
These groups will learn how to create books, electronic books that are useful for everyone, and particularly that are easy to use for people with disabilities.
Representatives of the Blind, Nigerian Copyright Commission, and Nigerian Publishers Association, among other groups, are participating in the workshop. In Lagos, Jane Ojukwu, NTA News.
That's it from this end. We now return to Elizabeth in Abuja for more on Nationwide.
Thank you so much, Hingino. The Nigerian Air Force is joining its counterparts across the world to defend its bases across the country. To this end, the maiden base Defense Seminar was held in Abuja to perfect the concept as a national security strategy. Najato Tijani reports.
Improving the Nigerian Air Force-based defense systems for greater efficiency in the deployment of air assets for effective security is one of the key issues being discussed here at the first ever edition of the Nigerian Air Force-based defense seminar. This area of operations in the Nigerian Air Force, largely manned by the regiment specialty, has undergone several upgrades over the years. The Nigerian Air Force says these ongoing advancements will help neutralize any future threats to national security.
In base defense were overlooked and underestimated. The current organization has seen the regiment operate a defensive arm through its force protection elements and an offensive arm through the Special Operations Force.
This is significant as the deployment of air assets takes place from these bases. Hence, the training of about 4,000 personnel drawn from various arms of the Nigerian Air Force with the assistance of the British Military Advisory Training Team. Nigerian air assets are currently deployed in the northeast, north central and northwest to combat insurgency, and this two-day seminar will apply innovative measures to drive the regiment's specialty pertinent to base defense and the country as a whole. Naja'atu Tijani, NTA News.
The Nigerian Navy is working to consolidate on the security of the country's maritime environment and enhance capacity of local content. The Director, Naval Information, Sulaiman Dahu, at a courtesy visit to NT said the Navy is addressing piracy along the Gulf of Guinea. Kolo Mohammed reports.
Nigeria's maritime environment and the Gulf of Guinea in general was bedeviled by activities of pirates and oil thieves, until the Nigerian Navy came up with strategies to check their activities. The Navy embarked on 13 major operations, with Tereteku being key to making the country's maritime environment safe and conducive for legitimate business.
From all indications, and you could verify from our strategic partners like the oil producing trade section, the Shippers Council, and other maritime operations. That operation has been able to stem the tide of piracy in our waters.
NTA's Executive Director News, Mohammed Labbo, acknowledged the efforts of the Navy in securing Nigeria's coastal economy from the activities of pirates and other maritime criminals.
A few years back, Nigerian coastal areas were becoming terribly insecure, very unsafe. And it was a cause for concern to not only Nigeria but the international community. The activity of pirates and oil thieves. But in the last few years, the Navy has upped its game and has restored sanity and security in not only the Nigerian coastal areas, but the Gulf of Guinea.
The NTA's management expressed readiness to partner with the Navy to promote naval brilliance in the effort to make Nigeria's waters safe. In Abuja, Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
And away from security matters, what is the peculiarity of Maiduguri hits and what precautionary measure to be taken? Let's now join Mohammed to give us details and other reports. Hello, Mohammed.
Hello, Elizabeth, and thank you for joining us in Maiduguri. The peculiarity of the heat season in Maiduguri, which normally tends to be excessive, just as the cold season during its time, has started raising concern at its onset among residents. Amina Fide Amodu examines the situation and now reports.
The weather condition in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, is unfriendly at this period as the weather temperature rises to above 39 to 41 degrees in the month of March to some part of June, which makes the weather unbearable. However, that will not deter people from going about their daily transactions, even as they protect themselves against the harshness of the weather.
The heat affects the perishable goods.
Heat will reduce as soon as the rain starts.
I drink a lot of water during the day.
I have an umbrella to protect myself.
Although the heat is at its early stage, a medical expert says they have started receiving cases of ailment associated with the weather.
The diseases usually seen in this hot weather is they include kidney stones because of dehydration. People are prone to dehydration, they don't take a lot of fluids, and also the outbreak of meningitis is being seen during the hot season, and even malaria because mosquitoes are usually more during the hot season. And in children, we tend to see measles is very common, and also respiratory tract infection because of the hot weather is associated with dusty weather, and even vomiting and diarrhea is mostly seen. Then also, there is also in extreme of weathers, we see even heat stroke. It also occurs.
Dr. Mariam Bukar also speaks on preventive measures to be taken.
Walking in the street, he can wear a hat to protect his head from the sun, and also he can use an umbrella that will also protect him. And also people should sleep in well-ventilated room.
With the intense heat weather condition being experienced, experts are of the opinion that more fluids be taken frequently to avoid heat stroke. In Maiduguri, Amina Fidi Amadou, NTA News.
Victims of fire incident that led to 7 loss of lives and destruction of about 2,000 households in Gajiram, the headquarters of Nganzai local government area of Borno State, have been urged to exercise patience as government is trying to bring additional assistance to them to cushion the effect of their hardship. This came up during the visit of Borno State government delegation to commiserate with the victims and presentation of some items to them as an interim measure by the local government council. Jadwa John Jesney has the rest of the story.
Narrating their ordeals to the members of the high-powered committee, survivors of the fire disaster, who are mostly displaced persons, said the incident started at about 11 o'clock morning. They added that 4,000 households have been affected, while public buildings, including the only local government comprehensive health facility providing medical services to the people, have been reduced to rubbles. According to the survivors, all their food items and livestock have equally been gutted by the fire. Representative of the district head of Gajiram, Bawakili, and the chief imam Goni Mukhtar, on behalf of the affected persons, appealed for immediate intervention of food and non-food items, a mobile clinic, and construction of boreholes to enable them start a new life. Meanwhile, Borno State government delegation comprising the State Emergency Management Agency officials have visited the area to sympathize with the victims, assuring them of relief materials that will be provided to them within the shortest possible time. The caretaker committee of the local government had already presented some items to the victims of the fire disaster, hoping to supply more. In Maiduguri, Jadwa John Jesini, NTA News.
You're watching Nationwide on the Nigerian Television Authority. Time now to take a break to bring you more news shortly. Do stay.
These days, people get their news and information from more media sources than ever before. Some of the news and information given are fake, unverified, doctored, and manufactured to create confusion, stir disaffection, and cause disunity. Before you believe or share any news, ask yourself, is this real? Is it from a credible source? Is it verified or verifiable? Fake news is dangerous, whether you do it for fun or for political gains. Real people can get hurt. Fake news, don't create it, don't spread it.
This is a public service announcement from NTA.
After elections and projections for national development, that is our focus tonight on NTA Tuesday Live. The program every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. promises to be incisive and informative. Don't miss it.
When you hear that sound, you know that Nigeria's most authentic newscast is about to begin. NTA Network News, breaking the news for over 40 years.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still watching NTA Nationwide. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of Nigeria has congratulated President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on their victory in the presidential election. In a statement by its president, Most Reverend Augustine Akubeze, the Bishops' Conference expressed appreciation for President Buhari's acceptance speech, which recognized the need for an inclusive government. The statement notes the present administration's passion for good governance and urges all to join hands with those declared winners in order to move the country forward. Meanwhile, the Buhari Support Organization Niger State Chapter has reaffirmed its determination to promote President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. The state coordinator of the organization, Umar Shuaibu, stated this at a meeting in Minna to appreciate members for their contributions. Sulaiman Kodogi reports.
The meeting, which had coordinators drawn from the 25 local government areas of the state, is at the instance of the state executive to appreciate them for their support and collaboration that culminated in the success of President Muhammadu Buhari and all APC candidates at the polls. The state coordinator, BSO, Mala Umar Shuaibu, lauded efforts of the local government coordinators for their continued support and cooperation throughout the election period, even as he appealed to them to sustain the tempo. He enumerated some of the achievements of the present administration in the last 4 years, adding that Nigerians should expect more of developmental initiatives.
We support the government policy, even when we did in 2015. When we finished the election in 2015, whatever policies the government has in place, the Buhari Support Organization support that policy and make sure that it succeeds.
The meeting featured presentation of letter of appreciation to BSO members in the state. In Minna, Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
Still on good governance, the Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers has assured the state government of its support and allegiance towards the progress and development of the state. Chairman of the council and the Etsu Nupe, Alhaji Yaya Abubakar, made the pledge when he led other members on a congratulatory visit to the state governor on his victory at the polls. Dauda Mohammed reports.
The State Council of Traditional Rulers, led by its chairman and Etsunupe Alhaji Yahya Abubakar, described the re-election of the governor as an act of God and congratulated him on his victory. The Etsunupe also commended the electorate for maintaining the peace before, during and after the election. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello commended the Traditional Council for their fatherly role, advice and direction during his first tenure, which has impacted positively. The governor commended the electorate for their peaceful disposition during the election, which he described as one of the best ever conducted.
I have no doubt in my mind that with your support, your Royal Highnesses will overcome these challenges. We have a new commissioner of police, and I've advised him to find time and visit your palaces so that you can discuss in camera and in details issues that affect security within your communities.
Governor Abubakar Sani Bello also pledged to address the menace of drug abuse by clamping down on all dealers of banned substances and drugs, which is directly related to rising cases of crime in the state. Dauda Mohammed, NTA News.
And out to political matters, service and true leadership has been identified as the base upon which politics should be practiced. But factors such as excessive monetizing, abuse of the rule of law, and self-satisfaction have been identified by political experts on Good Morning Nigeria as some of the reasons responsible for the failure in the political class in Nigeria. Daniel Aderiye tells us more.
Democracy advances in its quest to move towards becoming a first world nation. The political class has been put under the spotlight, as experts say they play a major role in the type of democracy the nation is saddled with.
The society also has changed. When I started politics, I started it as a very young man. I was in my 20s. I didn't have a kobo. It wasn't a question of money. It's a question of an ideology, a question of what you believe in, a question of how you present yourself to your people. But today, a lot of people have grabbed the system, made money out of it, and become the real political bourgeois.
Former National Publicity Secretary Algon Jibril Sabo Kiana stated that the bulk of the failures in both Nigeria's democracy and the political strata can be attributed to the adoption of a system of governance which he says is not indigenously rooted.
We took democracy and we're supposed to have married it to the spirit of us as Africans, so that you would have now managed, you would have gotten a product that has your spirit, and you are taking the form to keep the spirit going.
We tend to place emphasis more on outcomes than on the processes themselves. What do I mean by that? You see, democracy is not just about outcomes. It is also about processes. And the processes are important that we get them right.
Director General National Inland Waterways Authority Olorunimbe Mamora emphasized on the need for a rebirth and rebuilding process of Nigeria's political institutions, which he said is key to sanitizing the democratic process.
We must rebuild our institutions. The institutions that have become dilapidated, we must rebuild them. We must restore values into the system.
Political education is very key, from the basement to the topmost, so that it can imbibe the character of ethics, value, and norm.
They canvassed in-depth reorientation and political education for both the political class and citizenry. In Abuja, Daniel Adiriye, NTA News.
Ebonyi State Government to partner People's Republic of China for economic development. Chinenye is standing by to give us details from our Enugu Network Center and other reports.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and welcome to Enugu. Anambra State Government has inaugurated Farmer Support Initiative in the state with a promise to eradicate extreme poverty. The government is to partner a United Kingdom-based non-governmental organization to achieve the aim. Uchenna Wekoyo has more.
The recent global statistics indicating that Nigeria is now the country with the world's most poor people is a source of concern to many development organizations, considering that Nigeria is the world's most populous black nation. To this effect, Anambra State Government, in collaboration with a United Kingdom-based organization, seeks ways to empower subsistence and peasant farmers as the best way to eradicating extreme poverty.
So what we're doing now is obviously to adopt what they have as a plan, as a design to get into the suburb, into the very remote part of the state, to provide every form of help.
The one problem we have in this country is that we assign so many responsibilities to government, which is not fair. Because government is limited in what they should do and what they can do.
What they are going to do, for instance, you are a fish farmer, they will inspect your farm and help you to develop the farm to be bigger, to support what you are doing.
Discussants are of the view that if agriculture is given the attention it deserves, Nigeria will be net exporter of food, thereby increasing the people's standard of living. In Onitsha, Uchenna Wekoyo, NTA News.
Also from Anambra, the state governor Willie Obiano says he will continue to provide the dividends of democracy to the people. He stated this when he marked the first day of his second term with a Thanksgiving Mass at St. Joseph's Special Science School and Seminary in Oka. Ndem Kalu has details.
Gratitude to God for giving him the wisdom to pilot the affairs of the state. Governor Willie Obiano took to the altar of God to appreciate him for his grace. He commended the people of the state for supporting him irrespective of political affiliations, pointing out that the gross domestic product of the state has increased from 3 trillion naira to 4.3 trillion naira in the last 5 years.
In the 3 remaining years, I want to reassure the Anambra that we are not going to lower the wall. And what has helped us to achieve this great feat in just less than 5 years? Security.
In a homily, the Metropolitan Archbishop of Onitsha, Most Reverend Valerian Okeke, commended the governor for his loyalty and humility, while urging the people of the state to unite and work together with the governor to move the state forward.
When you live in faith and hope with your eyes
on the golden crown, the effort becomes a pleasure in spite of the difficulties.
People of the state commended the governor for his giant strides in all sectors of the economy as they pledged their continued support to his administration. From OKTT, Ndem Kalo, NTA News.
And that's our contribution from Enugu. It's back to Elizabeth in Abuja for more on Nationwide. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Chinenye. And out to livestock matters, towards achieving Nigeria's drive to diversify the economy, experts in animal production are drawing the attention of the federal government to the need on investing more on repositioning the livestock industry for sustainable economic development. The professionals made the passionate appeal during the 44th annual conference of the Nigerian Society for Animal Production held in Abuja. Justin Bemunyi reports.
In the face of recent dwindling oil fortunes, the Nigerian government, like other nations, has been instituting major policies towards diversifying the economy. Consequently, the government has recorded an unprecedented success story in agricultural development. But despite commendations from professionals in the sector, they are saying the crop production subsector has received a maximum attention from the government, leaving the vast livestock production potential largely untapped to further boost the economy and food security. Reports from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture indicated that the Nigerian livestock industry's productivity falls far short of national requirements and below levels required to supply the current and projected national demand for animal protein and other products in line with temporal population trends. Experts are now calling for an urgent need to revolutionize livestock production in Nigeria, as they provide the needed professional roadmap to reposition the sector.
In animal agriculture, not much is invested in it. Perhaps maybe because of the risk of associated with livestock production. But I believe that the federal government should do more, in making credits, money, loans available to the livestock farmers and the stakeholders.
So if you want to find another alternative beside oil that can boost the economy of the country, then agriculture is it.
So we need government intervention. If you go throughout this country, go to faculties of agriculture, where we're supposed to have well-established livestock farms, it's not there. So we need government to come to our aid so that our faculties of agriculture, Department of Animal Science, will have farms that can even take care of the communities around.
The conference was also a time for the investiture of fellows on 4 distinguished scholars who are eminent members. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
Sokoto Police Command intensified patrol to ensure H-free rerun election. Let's now join Shadia as she gives us details and other reports.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Welcome to Sokoto. Sokoto State Police Command is intensifying patrols to rid the state of criminals and ensure adequate security before and after the supplementary elections slated for Saturday this week. The State Police Public Relations Officer Muhammad Abubakar Sadiq stated this while parading suspected criminals at the command's headquarters in Sokoto. Sheikh Muhammad Datti reports.
There is one who injured me here. When we are celebrating about the election, we are thinking about.
Besides the 25-year-old Noura Abubakar, whose case of violent behavior is under investigation, these 11 suspects were arrested following police patrol in various hideouts around Sokoto metropolis. The suspected criminals were said to be in possession of dangerous weapons, 140 wraps of marijuana, as well as over 500 pieces of Exol tablets. Sokoto State Police Public Relations Officer Muhammad Abubakar Sadiq reiterated the command's readiness to provide safety for socio-economic activities to strive in the state.
Areas were raided at about 18:00 hours, and these areas include Gidan Igwe, Old Garage, Central Motor Park, Gangare and Gidan Donkuri, and Mana areas. And men on patrol arrested 12 suspects for the offense of criminal conspiracy.
He confirmed that the suspect will soon be charged to court. In Sokoto, Show Muhammad Dati, NTA News.
Deployment of technology in the democratic process has been identified by political experts as key in making elections more cost-effective in the future. Musa Abubakar examines the increasing cost of elections in Nigeria and the way forward. The report.
$770 million spent on 2019 elections, above the $625 million in 2015. Record shows that Nigeria's election cost has risen over the years. From 1999 to 2018, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is said to have received more than 700 billion naira as budgetary allocations from the federal government, which is made up of electoral expenditure, personnel cost, overhead cost, and capital projects. Comparative analysis indicates that the cost in Nigeria is higher than countries such as Canada, United Kingdom, and Australia.
In addition to the cost of procurement of necessary materials, the printing of ballot papers, the number of political parties, 51, 70, that unnecessarily also add to the cost of production of materials.
For economic analysts, the cost has become a source of concern, considering the large amount of resources allocated to elections, which could have been used for developmental projects.
The cost, the multiplier effect will be under our budgeting. If there's no any other source to the government, it will affect some other sectors of the economy. The building of roads, the schools, and other sectors of the economy.
Maintenance of election equipment and local sourcing of electoral materials, among other recommendations, have been identified as measures to reduce the cost implication. It is believed will curb the rising expenditure of elections and avail other sectors of the economy the needed resources for the socio-economic development of the country. In Sokoto, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
We now pause for a break. More news in Abuja when we return. Stay with us.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the role of the media in election coverage. Exclusive on the National Broadcasting Commission, its mandate as the sole regulator of Nigerian media. Dr. Toba Daba then and Ishak Modibo Kawu now. This edition also features the king of stand-up comedy in Nigeria, Ali Baba. NTA standards to be ready for election transmission after decades of abandonment. Find out from the DG transactional elections in our political space and evil wind that blows no good. DG, National Orientation Agency Conference. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, x-rays the impact of social media on electioneering process as electorates present their expectations from incoming government. Meet some TV professionals behind the screen and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Get the latest news and updates from across Nigeria on NTA Nationwide. NTA Nationwide, weekdays by 4 p.m. Get it first. Get it fresh.
Thanks for staying with us. To honor the memory of Professor Pius Adesome, the Carleton University, where he was a professor of English and African Studies, is planning to set up a scholarship fund. Joy Osiagu, who covered the celebration of life of Adesome in Ottawa, witnessed by hundreds of mourners from North America, reports that the scholarship is being established to support students and his work.
Remembering Pius Adesome because he went on the airplane to somewhere, and then after his airplane crashed and he died. A great working man. He taught me how to speak French, and he taught
Girl Tishe Adesome is here with her mother Olumuyiwa, thousands of friends and associates and family members of her father, Professor Pius Adesome, from different parts of North America to eulogize his accomplishments and sterling qualities.
Was the dean who hired him at Carleton back in 2005, and he started in 2006. Right, he was very insightful. He knew how to speak truth to power, as the saying goes, but he did it with wit.
And he really cared about his students and his colleagues, and he always supported them in a most extraordinary way.
He was fearless, and he was somebody who pushed the envelope in a lot of ways, especially as a black academic in a predominantly white institution. That is, in and of itself, is a radical departure from what you usually see at the university and the academy as a whole, and for that we'll forever be grateful to him.
Memories are precious to the Carleton community, and so they're going ahead to preserve Professor Adesome's through a special fund to support students and his work.
He's such an important person for us at Carleton here in Ottawa. We'll have further celebrations in his honor on campus. I'm also very pleased that we've been able to establish a scholarship in his name so that we remember his incredible legacy.
While the Carleton University is at it, Tishe Adesome is also eager to keep her father's passion alive.
Be listening in class and get A+ and working hard.
From the Metropolitan Bible Church in Ottawa, Canada, Joy Usiago, NT News.
Thank you so much, Joy. And now to some sporting stories. Nigeria Olympic Committee resolves to collaborate effectively with other stakeholders as cricket under-19 team beats Kenya at the ongoing ICC World Cup African qualifying matches. Ayodeji Makinde is here to tell us more.